As a state, we see the most lightning in the entire country. Last year, Texas saw nearly 70 million lightning strikes, and 5.5 million of those hit the ground. That works out to nearly 21 lightning strikes per square mile across the state. Lightning can be dangerous if you don't take the right precautions. Here's how to stay safe in a lightning storm. The easiest way to stay safe is just to stay indoors. Your house, apartment, or workplace is more than enough protection from lightning. If you can't get indoors, get out of open fields and take shelter. A covered patio will do perfectly. If that's not available, the next best place to take shelter is your car. Your car is safe not because of the rubber tires, but because of the metal bodywork. If your car gets struck by lightning, your car becomes what's known as a Faraday cage and directs all of the electricity around the outside of the car and straight down to the ground. Your tires don't play a role in protecting you since air is a much better insulator than rubber, and lightning just jumps through more than a mile of air to get to the ground. After that, a 1/4 inch of rubber won't make much of a difference. Lightning will always seek out the easiest trip to the ground. That usually means the tallest things will get struck more frequently than anything around them. The skinnier the tower, the more likely it is to get struck. That also means a lone tree in the middle of a field is a prime target for lightning. It's important to never seek shelter under a tree. If lightning strikes, the energy and heat can instantly vaporize all the water in the tree, causing it to explode. An easy way to remember: when thunder roars, head indoors. Carlo Falco, Fox 7 Austin Weather.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and we'll have 30 seconds of silence. Thank you. We are on the agenda around a little bit. We've got a couple of visitors and a couple of items we want to move up. Does anyone else have any suggestions for changes in the agenda? No? Okay, great. We're going to start with citizens communication. Are there any citizens here that would like to speak? Okay, yeah. If you'll just go to the podium, and did you fill out the form? Just pass it down if you don't mind. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Zach Nevins. I am not a resident here, but I have been in and out of this community for about 30 years now. I am probably the representative tonight. I'm also the VP for our Leander High School Swim Team Booster Club. So I'm just here tonight to say my thanks to the Mud for everything that you guys have done for our swim team, for the community, in regards to everything that's been recently going on and for the last 30 years roughly that Leander's been a part of this community. So that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to say thank you very much.
Thanks, Zach, for that. It's very kind of you. We are gonna touch on that topic here. We moved it up, so if you don't mind staying here. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna go ahead to Ms. Martin, the OA.
Hi, we have a busy few weeks coming up, and all of our events for June and July are in association with the MUD, and then 2 instances with Premier Mark. And so we just wanted to, we haven't had a lot of publicity yet, but we're trying to get ahead of that game again. So on June 8th, we're doing Little Mermaid at Tumlinson, and it's a pool party, so the kiddos can be in the water. And they're all required to have their parents, and so it's gonna be kind of a fun event. For $5, we're charging $5 mainly so people will show up, but it includes food and water for them. And then on July 19th, we're doing a party for the teenagers. And then July 4th, of course, that we do every year with the MUD. I don't know if anybody's noticed, because no one has complained or said, thank you, Sandy. The electronic sign is working.
Thank you, Sandy.
It's not pretty, but it's working. Thank you, Sandy. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything for Sandy?
What was that second date, June something?
June 8th and July 9th.
Oh, July 9th.
Just, I know you are, but we're on any communications, however we can help you, communicate that out to the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, we have signs coming,
Okay.
that'll go out around the neighborhoods, that'll help. And I was gonna call Lisa tomorrow to see if we could put, I don't know when the pool's open, but if we could put
Yeah.
like a paper sign on the windows with, links so that people can sign up on Eventbrite.
Yeah.
So that's our only,
Yeah, we can help you get the word out.
okay,
Thank you, Sandy. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move up to Leander ISD pool situation. It's 2 agenda items, number 36. So number 8 is blockhouse use, pool classification, lifeguards during specific use at Apache Pool. And then 36 is consideration of termination of agreement with Leander ISD for Apache Pool. So just to bring everyone up, all the directors, which you may or may not know, because of the new state regulation, they need to have lifeguards. And David Johnson has done a lot of research on that, I'll let him speak to that part of it. But the athletic director from LISD wrote Sean a letter and basically said that they were gonna go ahead and move on to that, that they just, it wasn't gonna work for them. So Sean and I worked with them a little bit and reminded them they have a 5-year contract, they have 1 more year left of it. And they had a lot of meetings with parents and students at the LISD meetings. There's been a lot of stuff going on. Zach's been instrumental in getting out the facts, because a lot of it was politics of our board, which has nothing to do with it. So David Johnson, I met with Bruce, the superintendent at LISD today, and it was a really good meeting. And so I think between Sean, David, myself, I think we maybe have a solution, but we want you guys to hear it and move forward. So Dr. Johnson.
Sure. So if y'all remember last month, we voted to require lifeguards at the pool at all times, because that was our conservative interpretation of the rules, and that state rule is particularly unclear in some ways. So thinking that it probably wasn't right, I reached out to the state. I had a good conversation with somebody at Dishes about the rule and followed up with him an email. So what the vagary in the rule is that it says public pools have to have lifeguards at all times. If you're not a public pool, I'm paraphrasing here, but if you're not a public pool, you only have to have lifeguards in our situation if the blocks are open, the diving blocks. The confusion was that, are we a public pool? Well, no, we're not a public pool in the sense that the pool is open to the public, but we are, right, we're a private pool, but we're a public entity.
private public.
Right, exactly. So that is the confusion. So we, all 5 of us, I believe it was 5-0, erred on the conservative side. They clarified, the state did in writing, and Sean's seen it, that if the blocks are closed, which in this case means bags over them that say danger, do not use, or closed, something to that effect. If we have those bags over the blocks, then we are not required to have lifeguards during swim practices. The tidal waves, I believe, fully intend on using the blocks during practice and are gonna have lifeguards. The struggle is, and you know, most of this is about the rule, not about, you know, any particular entity. But the problem is that fielding guards or hiring guards is extremely difficult at 6 or 5 in the morning, whatever it is, during the school year, right? Because high school students work that. So we've explored it, and what I'd like to propose is we write into the Leander ISD contract essentially that if they're willing to close the blocks, then they wouldn't need to have lifeguards when those blocks are closed, which is completely in accordance with state law. The lifeguards haven't been used for the history, as far as I know, for the history of tidal waves or the history of Leander ISD, except for, I think it was 2 years ago when that rule came up. It's only in the last couple of years it's been required during swim practice.
I don't wanna belabor the point right now, but, so sorry, I'm wrapping my head, this is not a us problem or a Leander ISD problem, this is a Dishes problem, let me guess. When they did this, or Dishes did this, I'm guessing they just assumed no public school would ever use a non-school pool, didn't they? Like, I'm guessing like I'm assuming the school at their own, if they had a pool, wouldn't have to provide lifeguards, cause, well.
That I'm not so sure of. I'm not aware of any, when I talked to him, and certainly I was focused on our pool because that's my focus, but I'm not aware of anyone being able to be outside of that rule in this state. Like, if it's a pool open to more than like your family, your house wouldn't need one. But a private, as far as I can tell, a private company would need one.
I'm thinking more like the school district, like, cause they're the user, right? Yeah, that's, yeah, we can have a further discussion later, but
Yeah, but that doesn't impact us, so.
And there's, and just to build on David pointed out, and David did a great job in communicating with dishes and also looking into this, but there's really two parts of ambiguity. One, in terms of how you define the pool and the level of public pools and thus which regulations would apply. And then in addition, there's ambiguity with exactly you can close down diving box. And more specifically, the rules say that it says specific names. David did a great job of doing some research and has found some covers that would go over the diving box that clearly say that they're closed. Dishes has said, yeah, that would work. And conversing with David, I think we both agree, and I assume everybody would, and Mark probably would as well, there'd be utility in having those at the pool at all times, to make sure when the pool is open just for normal use, that we don't want folks on there.
Yeah, I can tell you, although we don't, at North Austin Mud One, their pool is too deep, they have diving boards and slides, so they don't have that option, based on the classification of the pool. Your pool is shallow enough that you could absolutely do that. We do utilize the bags at all times, so our diving blocks are closed at all times over there, with the bags on it, and that's, satisfied that as well. In reality, you should have the bags on them, whenever they're not being used by
Yeah.
swim team or anything else anyways. So yes, that would definitely be perfectly acceptable.
Great, thank you, Mark.
Absolutely.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve agenda item number 8, which is basically that we will use the covers to close the pool, or close the blocks.
Does not require lifeguards when the blocks.
Right, and that would impact like Master Swim.
Right,
Yeah.
that was my initial reason for researching it, is because I thought it was kind of egregious that we needed lifeguards for adults in the pool that aren't exiting the pool in any way. They stay in the pool all the time, why are you using lifeguards? But again, the vagueness in the state law seems to require, now we have provision that, and I think, like Sean said, that, I mean, I've seen my kids have tried to get on the blocks during regular, family swim, and I've had to chase them off. The guards I've seen tell kids to get off the block, so it'd just be helpful.
Yeah, just to have those covers on all the time, like Mark said. Okay, so do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
I do have one question, so how many times does, or maybe it's underneath 36, does Leander ISD actually use the blocks?
Well, they probably use it every day for practice, who knows, but this doesn't necessarily impact this is us right now, and then we can go into the Leander ISD next.
Right, so, the gist of it is, the impact of this vote would be, if someone's willing to use the pool and not the blocks, they wouldn't need the lifeguards. It gets complicated, but assuming there wasn't a swimming.
And we'll go into that next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was always under the assumption the block covers were always on when it wasn't a swim pool.
We
We
never
don't
had
have
block
block
covers.
We used to,
Not,
We haven't.
well,
yeah,
not,
we don't
since I've been on it, we have.
yeah, but not, probably not last 12 years. So it's a good thing to get them.
Correct.
Okay, calling for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
So can I clarify,
Absolutely.
so I'd like to have us direct Sean to work with, and Lisa, to work with LISD, to work that into their contract for what days they're wanting to use. They have to have the they're willing to use the covers on us. That's
Their attorney, his name is Sean, I sent you the email today, and just work on an amendment, and then we'll bring that in front of the board.
one last direction, so if we could please direct Lisa to purchase, I can send you the link, they're $50 a piece, the bag covers. And actually, I was thinking about it's a not really consequential amount of money, it's $300, but for every day we don't have lifeguards at Master Swim, will be $50. So in the first week and a day, we'll save that much.
Okay.
So I'll
Oh, I
send
see
you,
what you're saying about the hourly rate.
by not being the lifeguard.
Okay, so we got the vote, let's move on. Supplemental agenda, New Gen Stage 3. The rate And this- Hello, welcome.
I just set the table here, so.
Sure.
Board members, some of y'all have met Dave Yonke before with New Gen. You recall, I think it was just last month, that you guys approved a proposal. And this is in the supplemental here, and this is in response to the temporary water increase that the city of Cedar Park has sent over in terms of their wholesale rates, and that is, of course, relates directly to the current levels of Lake Travis and LCRA standards. And so the question was, do we want to adjust our rates to account for the increase in rates in the city of Cedar Park, which on a temporary basis? Just as an aside, they provided guidance to us that the temporary rates might be in place for 18 months. And so the thought was, let's have your rate analysts take a look at these. And so to be sure, and I'll pass the baton to Dave here, but this study here that you have in front of you is expressly limited to just adjusting to those temporary rate increases that City of Cedar Park has proposed.
Thank you, and I'll be very brief. So, Sean described it, so we were hired to do that. Again, we did the last study for you back in 2022, so about 2 years ago. Again, we attached the letter that Cedar Park provided to you to this brief memo. But basically, they're saying the wholesale water rate would go up from 356 to 388, so it's up 32 cents per 1,000 gallons. So in going in to conduct this analysis, we requested information from Crossroads, got it to us very timely. So we were looking at the most recent 2024 budget for the MUD, looking at the billing data. It was interesting looking at the billing data. Consumption for the last 12 months, we were looking at very similar actually to the period that we used for our test period in the study years ago. But so when we looked at it, bottom line, if you turn over, if you have it in front of you, page 2, we developed 2 scenarios for you. And bottom line, what we're recommending to you, again, there's a 32-cent wholesale rate increase by Cedar Park, but you have about 30 million gallons, 27 million gallons that you use for irrigation, water, etc. That is not billed, so you have to be able to make that up. So if you were just going to spread the increase across all of your billed consumption, again, you take about 210 million gallons on average, assuming a normal year, you bill about 177 million. So you gotta charge across the board 40 cents per 1,000 gallons, okay, if you wanna recover that 32-cent increase, okay? We were asked to develop one other scenario where if you were to have a bigger increase for larger water users. Again, that's pretty standard in the industry. We're doing a lot of water rates right now, and we're seeing a lot of water rate increases. So one of the things we did was we developed the second scenario, which is just the table on page 3. And again, what we're recommending here is if you're going to have an increase and have the larger, heavier water users pay more, what we would recommend is the rate structure we've shown here. So 0 to 7,000 gallons would be a 25-cent increase. So instead of 40 cents across the board in scenario 1, you'd have a 25-cent increase for 0 to 7,000 gallons. And then the 3 additional blocks would all be increased by 75 cents. Okay, so just real quick to give you an example, in table 2, that first block, 0 to 7, you'd go from 488 to 513, that's 25 cents. Then all those other block rates, the $5.12, the $5.55, the $6, et cetera, those would all go up by 75 cents. In closing, findings and recommendations, we recommend you guys decide what makes sense and discuss it and implement one of those 2 scenarios, either of those will work. And then we would recommend, once the stage 3 drought rate increase is relaxed and taken out of effect, we would recommend you, whether you put your rates back to what they were prior to this recommended rate increase. And then just the third item was something for you to consider is perhaps in a year, we'd recommend you consider doing a comprehensive rate study again. It will have been 3 years by then. Most of our clients typically do the rate studies every 3 to 5 years, so you can do it next year or wait or what have you.
Great.
With that, I'm glad to take any questions.
Okay, thank you so much for that information. You guys have paper in front of you. I'll go around the table, but I just want to remind the directors, we're not voting on this tonight, so please research the information you have, ask Sean or anyone, but does anybody have a direct question for him this evening? Director Johnson?
Sorry, I was gonna ask, so we're voting on it next month?
Correct.
So in the mechanism to actually undertake the rate increases, will you amend your rate order?
Okay.
And as an aside, just one more comment on that. This is a temporary rate increase, and, you know, as Dave noted, you'll likely wanna revert back once Cedar Park changes from its temporary rate. It's not typical for MUDs per se, at least the ones that I've represented, to have a mechanism of a rate order to where you shift to this particular one, but I've reached out to a few folks to try to research if there's some precedent for doing that, and that way, as opposed to having to officially, you know, adopt another amended rate order to take us back down, if we can just have a mechanism in rate order to go up when stage 2 is on, and
Are there any legalities, like I'll go up or down, like are we restricted by?
I don't think so. I think we're okay
Okay.
there. It's just
Okay.
really a matter of what can we bake into a single document that you can save a little bit of time on the front end as opposed to having.
Yeah, all right, Director Johnson, anything else? Director Young?
Nothing.
You talk about the rate order, I think you should have a little bit bigger discussion, not sure.
Okay,
But thank you for
Director
your
Roberts?
comments.
Mine may just pass till next month, but I think it's very important that when we do write the order, that it is very specific, that it says a temporary increase. Is
Yeah.
that what your intention is?
That's what I'd like to do. I think that'd be the preferential way to do it, to just draft in a section that says, to the extent we bump up into stage 2, and Cedar Park is adjusted to this cost, we'll adjust with it.
Is there, sorry,
Sure, Director Johnson?
is there a thought as to, I know we don't know, is there a thought as to when it might, like Cedar Park might, I know it's kind of weather, right?
So,
You have a crystal ball?
Yes, like if we wanted to communicate about it, we're anticipating a year, 2, 5, 6 months.
You know what, I'd say, you know, we're hoping, if I were wording it, I'd say we're hoping that, you know, within 12 to 18 months, but it is up to Mother Nature, and the reservoirs are at 40%.
Right.
And so it's,
Yeah,
So-
well, we can talk about the language in there, because I'd be a little hesitant to put any, because then if we don't change it.
well, and a couple things. So for one, I think the guidance that Cedar Park had offered to Ben when he took over was possibly 18 months. I mean, they don't have a crystal ball either, so.
Sure.
But again, and Dave also said this, so you don't have to, it's possible it might get worse in stage 2.
Yeah.
And so, you know, but with that said, LCRA actually sent, we got emails today from LCRA giving an update, and I think we added 200,000 acre feet to the combined storage, yeah. So it's a lot, but they also still pointed out that Lake Buchanan is like 14 feet below
Right.
where it's supposed to be. So-
I'm just thinking, like, if we could let them know it's years, because if I hear it's temporary and 18 months later it hasn't changed,
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's not temporary. So if we could say temporary, but could be as many as years.
Yeah, we'll talk about communication next month.
Absolutely.
So please, everyone, just do your research, so that we'll be prepared to have an intelligent conversation. Thank you so much for the
you bet,
information.
thank you.
Mr. Yankee,
And-
later.
We can have her back next time. I do think your suggestion of looking at it every 3 years is really important. I don't think we've done that, so thank you.
Yep.
And we will put that on our 3-year plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, okay. We're gonna go to Gray Engineering, David.
Thank you. I apologize to the board. I'm trying to get early morning flight tomorrow morning, so I'm gonna try to get early. I'll be brief. Basically, still need to work with Sean on the PEC easement. I apologize, it reached out to me, so I guess they're not too
You mind if I
concerned.
offer a little update
Of
there,
course,
David?
of
So
course.
we had our consent to representation letter, the all approved last month. The PEC board has approved that, so now we can formally start those topics.
Okay, thank you, perfect. Recreational bond issue, some good news. It was filed with TCEQ last week. It has been declared administratively complete by the staff, which basically kicks off the start of the 60-day review. So we're awaiting questions. I usually don't hear anything from them until towards the end of that review period. But it could be, they're actually moving a little faster than they have been in recent years, so
That's good.
I'm pleased with that. but you're in process.
That's huge, that's great.
And I think Sean has an item for y'all to consider later on about reimbursement, any things that you do up front on that, so that's in his court.
Okay.
Of course, everybody, I think is aware that we had some runoff from the NFM site last week. Fairly significant rainfall event. I was actually in Andice when it happened, and I thought it was Noah's flood. But nevertheless, we did, and thank you, Lisa, for getting in touch with me about that. I talked to Ursula a little bit, and the situation was that the amount of rainfall in a short period of time on saturated ground with no ground cover over there is the absolute worst time for something like that to happen during the construction sequence. It caused water to run over into the street, which part of the site, does slope towards us. The inlet protection and the other erosion control measures, which are dictated by TCEQ, in an attempt to guard against the influx of silt and other material into your creek, they become clogged when you get that kind of rainfall. When they get clogged, they don't allow the inlets and the other drainage facilities to do their job. And as a result, water had nowhere to go, so it ponded in the street. I realize it was a bad situation. We did get in contact with representatives from Spyglass, which is the GC of what's going on right now on the NFM site. They were very responsive. They sent their crews over and at my direction, remove the inlet protection to allow the inlets to function properly and drain the water off the street. That's your priority at that point in time, that kind of situation. They did that. I believe the street drained fairly quickly. I believe that they came back out the next morning and cleaned up any debris that was left in the street. They were instructed to leave the inlet protection out because we weren't what the law was going to be. We had a meeting with representatives from Spyglass today, subcommittee on the board, and I think we had a good meeting.
We did.
On a number of things, discussed a few things. They are adding some additional, what I would consider best managed practices for dealing with runoff on the site, and an attempt to reduce the likelihood and reduce the effect on our property if such a rainfall event happens. But I just want to caution you that right now, where this project is, and the weather, we get another bad one, it could repeat itself. We worked to an agreement to not replace the inlet protection on the street. The actual street inlet protection is not required by TCEQ, only the square inlet protection.
The green
The
worm
green,
thing, yeah.
right, the pillow, I call them green pillows. But nevertheless, they are gonna replace that at the appropriate time. We have a number, Lisa has their number. The gentleman that's running the place over there provided us a schedule on the overall project, which will allow their general manager to respond accurately with any inquiries coming in regarding what's going on over there at any given time. We have their number, they have our numbers. And so they are going to do some dewatering on the site, but they are not scheduled to start that probably till I think another week or so. They're changing the way they're doing their dewatering to try to minimize the introduction of silt off the site into our system. Had a little problem with that the first time they tried it. We talked a little bit about that. I have looked at their dewatering facility that they're using on New Hope Road. After our meeting today, it appears to be better, I'll put it that way. So we'll monitor that once they start over here. Anyway, they got the schedule of it was interesting as to.
Yeah, so they also told us, and Johnson, you want to talk about, they're gonna add an extra layer of the silt fencing, and then the timeline to build their permanent fence. So do you want to share that?
Sure. So they shared with us today that they're gonna build a dewatering wall, so what do you call it?
Silt fence.
So the silt fence,
Second.
right, the second silt fence, but in the next month, they're gonna start building a 10-foot, it's lower than that, but it's 10 feet above the grade. And that'll stop water runoff and silt and everything.
Dust and mud.
And dust and mud, of course.
Yeah.
It'll start within the next month, it'll take 2 to 3 months. We're about to be in the dry season, but their plan is to be done by the September hurricane.
Is it temporary fence or permanent?
The permanent.
This is the permanent fencing, okay.
It actually won't start until July the 8th.
It is a footing, about a 2 to 4 foot footing high. And on top of that, they will build their 10-foot fence that's in their plans.
Gotcha, so make sure that's a recollection, that was the
Yeah,
barrier.
now they're also gonna do an additional layer of silt fence right now.
Right now, yeah, immediately, yeah. We also asked them about, could they go ahead and build their detention pond immediately? And they actually have, was it 4 detention ponds? And the
correct.
one closest to us will be the last one. And they explained that they actually have to build the infrastructure, and the piece of equipment is like how many thousands pounds?
Yeah, to build the building that abuts the pond,
Yeah,
they need access. It's gonna delay building, in their sequence of construction, it'll delay building
right,
that. Doesn't go away, it's just one of the last things they build.
yeah.
I think with the other improvements that are going on the wall and things like that, that it will minimize the, and political alteration by nature, will minimize their.
Yeah, Director Roberts.
Yeah, so what are they doing when they know these rains are coming, or if they do come? I mean, what's the response time? Why should we have to contact them?
Well, they did say that they would monitor that, and that, you know, they would, if it was decided to put more inlet protection anywhere, that they would monitor, and if an event looked like it was on the horizon, to dump like it did last Thursday,
Okay.
that they would initiate, come over and remove those inlet protections to allow those inlets to function properly.
So
So I
then,
think to your point, they are being proactive.
As well as coming right back after a storm,
Yeah.
you know, Director Young.
So I was doing my own little investigation when this was occurring. And I expected the water to be running underneath Vermont, you know, where the disc golf course is and such, but it appears that it's going back there behind Hutton, on that road back there. Which leads me to ask, like, do we know where all the flow is?
Yes.
Could you share that with us,
Yes.
with
happy
the
to.
full board, to Lisa, and then propagate that out so we better understand
We
the
have,
water flow?
we have a map of the district's drainage system that shows all the inlets, the pipes, and
Yeah.
ultimately everything ends up in the creek, okay? But also your new GIS mapping system, which is, I call it still in progress, but a lot of it's been done. Also will reflect all that, and will ultimately have some additional information at all those inlet locations, too. But yes, to answer your question, Robert, we will provide a map and get that information to Lisa for this
I think it's
information.
in the book you have.
It's already in our
Okay.
system.
Yeah, it's all right. Okay, Director Shoemaker?
Did y'all talk about environmental flows in the meeting on the creek from once the detention pond is in place at all? Because I had positive to Director Logan, I told her I couldn't make the meeting, Director Johnson filled in, and one of the questions I had was that, you know, it came up that some of the detention ponds, the idea is the water stays, the detention pond.
Yeah, I did bring that
drains
up,
out.
yeah.
And so do they?
Yeah, they did.
Is this pond gonna still drain to the creek? We're not losing flow to the
Yes.
creek from this?
Yeah, it'll drain, the pond will eventually tie into your drainage system, which flows to the creek. Those detention ponds fully empty.
Okay.
They are not retention ponds, they're detention ponds. They slow the flow and release it at a rate that is less than the actual natural flow off the property. So any type of, you know, residual background flows on the creek, they really don't affect that because they still release it. By the way, our creek is blessed with a great spring up here in the upper end of it. We, as I think y'all know, we have flows down that creek pretty much year round.
It's never dried up.
I wouldn't say never, but yeah.
I've been here for 40 years.
Okay, so, are there any more questions around the table? Because I'm gonna keep moving on, we got a lot of stuff going on. We did agree to meet with them about once a month. Lisa's got a good, relationship with them, so we'll keep that up. So please, if you guys see any questions or comments or concerns, please let Lisa know, we can communicate that. The biggest thing is we wanna have open communication with them for the next
Sure.
year and a half while the construction is going on.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, David, and you
Thank
can
you.
leave.
Thank you very much for accommodating my schedule.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna go to 23.
23, 24, and 25. Do we have Sagamore on Zoom link? Chris?
Yes.
I did ask Tony Perez with Sagamore Fencing to join us. I asked him by Zoom just because I didn't know how many people we were gonna have here today. We did solicit bids for the staining of the 3-mile fence. Sagamore Fence is the only one that provided a bid for us, so I wanted you all to be able to hear the information that he had to provide for us in order to understand what it would undertake.
Okay, welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Do you
So
guys
do you
hear me
wanna-
okay? Okay.
Tony, we discussed saturation as far as the wood and how things would be able to be managed as far as heat and things to that effect. Can you speak on going out and doing this entire 3-mile loop and what that would entail?
Yeah, can I ask you guys just a little more clarifying question in terms of maybe some concerns that have come up more in detail about saturation and that sort of thing?
Say it again?
Can I hear a little bit more about your concerns that have been raised about saturation and that sort of thing?
Yes, would the fence be able to be staying in the state that it's in right now and be able to hold the staining for how long a period of time? The fence that has not been replaced, the fence that we currently have out there, is it able to actually hold the stain? And if so, how long would it be able to hold that stain? And does it matter as far as temperature is concerned right now?
The good thing about the stain that we've proposed for the community is that it's a solid wood stain. So it's more of it's classified as a stain, but it's more like a paint, right? So it goes on protective. So we'd have to pair it with pressure washing the existing fences and kind of take off that kind of top layer there, and it kind of opens up the pores, for lack of a better term. So just to describe it there, it opens up the pores so it can better receive it. And then we come back over that with the stain. So with that said, with it being a solid stain, it is a Sherwin-Williams product. So they do have a warranty on this for 10 to 25 years, depending on its UV exposure and that sort of thing. There's no real way to quantify, how long exactly, but it's a great product, and they put that warranty on there for that reason. We do notice with these solid stains, they do kind of cover all the texture, all the grain of the wood. That's because it really is wanting to protect it. That's how they can give it, a longer warranty, a longer life expectancy with those products.
Okay,
It's a match for what we already have.
yes, so to clarify, proposal 7734 for 124,000, is that basically the whole loop, or is it just the new fences?
No,
Okay,
that's the entire 3-mile loop.
okay, all right, so do I have a motion to approve, proposal 7734?
I'm gonna actually make that because.
Okay, do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that with a budget question.
Okay, so let's go around the table, Director Shoemaker.
Just real quick, I see it's 124, where Taylor, I don't know if this is a Taylor question, but where is that in our budget as far as, I know we've got some money available, but that's the only thing I want to touch base about.
This is gonna be from that supplemental money or that bucket that they had been storing as in the.
Oh, and the,
Exactly.
what's the account?
Yeah,
Previously set aside.
Yes, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so that's where that finance.
Got it,
Anything
okay,
else,
thank you.
Shoemaker?
Not right now, I'll let everybody else grab it.
Okay, Director Roberts.
I said one final thing, so it does not include what's already been done.
That's
This is-
correct.
This is only the existing fence, power washing it and putting that stain on it.
That's correct. And we would work with Priority Landscape after the fact to make sure that all the irrigation is not beating on that fence moving forward, so that we could actually keep that, that stain. Yes.
Yeah, okay, Director Johnson.
Nope.
Director Young,
This is only for 23, estimate 7734,
7734.
the same, okay, no, that's it for me.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let's go on to, proposal estimate 7792.
So to bring the board up to date, last month you all did approve for some additional fencing to be replaced out there near, the best way to describe it is at the HEB dead end. When that was approved, I actually reached out to Sagamore and I asked them to provide me an estimate for removing the chain link fence at that end, and so that I could bring this back and go ahead and add a wood fence there. My interpretation of my request actually was skewed and the fence was already installed. So I wanted to bring that to your attention that this $4,505 has actually been installed. But I needed you all to approve it or to decide if we needed to go back on that.
Okay,
That's the fence
so
that
let's,
was damaged already?
yeah, so I know there's gonna be some discussion on this, so you had a motion and a second, right?
I'll make a motion. for
And I'll
this.
make a motion, yeah. So,
I only
second.
motioned the first one.
Okay, so
I'll
your
make a
motion is fine,
for this.
Shoemaker, second.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go around the table, Director Shoemaker.
Just real quick, so clarify, we talked about, Rex, I thought we talked about removing the chain link fence, I thought we got approval for the cost of removal. But Sagamore has already installed what is in this proposal,
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
and so they already stained it too in the next one, I know it's the next agenda item, so, okay.
Yes.
This is just ratification of what they did.
I know. Okay, Director Roberts.
As a resident brought to my attention that somebody's already tore part of it down,
Portions of it.
portion of it,
Mhm.
so.
About 10 planks.
Now, let me ask you this about the chain link that we're moving it, was that like an inhibitor for them to go? Because apparently they're using that to go back and
Right.
forth. I mean, should we put it back in or should we just?
They're breaking through the
The
chain link.
chain link never served a purpose.
Yeah.
They, every time we go back in and replace it, they would take it, roll it back, and literally continue utilizing it. And this isn't just, teenagers, if you will. We literally have residents that have seen all of East Blockhouse Drive with like a parking lot, because people that are visiting the HEB Center want to have their Uber drivers pick them up from there. And so we have adults that are literally coming through that fence and utilizing that area to be picked up.
So since you're talking about that, why don't you go ahead and explain that we reached out to Wilco to see if we could do a no parking strip there?
Yes, so in my GM report, you'll be able to see under 29 in the packet that I actually did reach out to Williamson County, and I asked Taryn and his counterparts if they could assist us. And I did provide them a map of the area that I would like to have a no parking. After further investigation, they came back and actually told me that that was something that they were not willing to do because it is a public access street. And so the best that we could do is obviously reinforce a fence to be able to assist us.
Trespassers.
Exactly, and we do have that sign on there. Williamson County deputies are aware to go around and make sure that, they're looking at that area to see if anybody is out there, trespassing.
So, before we go on to you guys, why don't you explain to them your idea of enforcing the fence?
Yeah, so I actually did talk with Tony Perez with Sagamore Fence, and I, talked with him about what else we could do to be able to reinforce this fence. And basically what you can see on the information schematic that he drew up for me very quickly is us going back, and a normal fence like this, what they do is they go in and they add a galvanized post 8 feet apart to be able to put a standard size fence. What we propose is to go back and actually add in 14 more posts, which would be how many feet apart, Tony? Would it
It would
be
be
2 foot?
approximately 4 feet apart. The
Okay,
post
4
would-
feet apart. So what we would do is we'd add 4 foot of galvanized piping and in order to do that, we need that in order to be able to add, what you see is the red. These are additional 4x4s, which would allow for the galvanized piping would be able to hold the weight of the additional 4x4s, which would make the pickets less likely for anybody to be able to get through them. You can kick the board out, but you still can't get through. And so that would be the purpose of it. We need the galvanized piping, again, to be able to hold the additional 4x4s.
And you will be using screws?
Yes, they always use screws, yes ma'am.
Okay, so let's go back to Director Johnson.
This seems like a kind of a dumb problem to have, but I get that it's a problem. It's just,
Costs a lot of money.
yeah, that's what I mean, and I guess probably wrought iron wouldn't help us, maybe, or,
I don't think that would be,
yeah, I could climb over it both ways.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is also giving the privacy, but most importantly, the wrought iron is gonna be a two-phase thing. I mean, we would still end up in.
Or the other option would use that curl barbed wire.
Don't want to be in the barbed wire. Don't want to be in the barbed
Okay,
wire.
you guys, let's keep focused. Director Young?
I went back there, checked it out, and, there are two gaps. The newer one, was only like 2 or 3 boards. And, I talked to a resident who was back there walking her dog, and she said that she witnessed the destruction of those. And it was, middle schoolers that were, just back there. It was shortly after the bus dropped them off, so I don't want us to just keep our focus on only HEB events. Another item there is, as the police go over there to investigate, it's very easy for those kids to just get to the other side, right? Hide out from the, hey, there's the police, like, they're gone. I think that this is probably gonna remain a problem until we get a comprehensive solution. We also need to start looking at what to do with that entire street, because that was donated to us by Williamson County. I don't know if we wanted, I wouldn't mind talking about planting some trees all along the center and, going from there. It did seem like a good, jogging loop for.
Dog park.
Yeah, I think we
so
got
let's-
options.
let's
I think we
focus
can come
on
up
the
with a
fence.
park bomb, I think.
Yeah,
Days,
that can be
yeah.
something if you want to put on the agenda for the next month, but let's focus on the fence right now.
Yeah, 'cause these are good ideas, I think we need to have a longer discussion.
And that's what I'm asking to do, like,
Yes.
let's be
Put it on the
prepared.
agenda.
Yeah.
Okay,
And we can discuss it with the park bond and.
Anything else
I
on
think
the
that's a good
fence
idea
itself?
to-
Yeah, the next part of that is, as soon as we do all that reinforcement, they're just gonna go through the back of the houses, their fences. Those are very weak. So let's say we do that entire section, these are 13-year-old boys that are running around and, you know, one-upping each other. So when they find out they can't get through there, they're gonna find a way through. Are we also going to start looking at maybe extending that far enough to where they're not gonna be doing something else?
May I add one more thing to that comment that you just made, because I think that's a good point. Is there anything, Tony, to do to create more of a block to go into the resident? I mean, can you like, create something that would just prohibit them from going to the back of the residence?
I think that once seeing the areas of concern, kind of seeing where the path of least resistance is for them, then we can take a look at what kind of setup we can do that's still aesthetically pleasing and can keep them out with that setup. So it's definitely something we can look at if we can see where they're filtering through.
Okay, so let's just get a proposal or something from him for next month, because we're not voting on that right now. Right now, we're voting on this.
And I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
think
add
that,
the other motion for the 7890 to be added to this other one.
This would be a change order to the addition, to the.
Okay, so
so this is part of,
Director Schumacher, do you have a question?
oh, just, I was gonna say that simply, I wanna make sure this is a change order for, you're talking about for
Yes.
7792, but then, I think we probably need to try to like, I get what you're saying, Director Roberts, I think let's try to get this particular piece dealt with, see if it works, it may not, but if it does, we're good, but I think the discussion about doing it with that street is very important. I think definitely it's on a park discussion we need to have later. We should have the next meeting agenda, at least I think we should have the agenda to talk about that, because we need to get some community input from residents down there, but I think for tonight's purposes, I think trying to talk about this one particular, because then like I said, I don't wanna get us off agenda too bad, because, we talk
I
things
think
around
we're gonna put
posting.
that on for next month anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But also I think you're putting up the other people too, like the view blocks, like, that you're asking about, like, I think those are good, but I think let's kind of stick to this. and-
Let's-
Okay, so
So-
let's also have a standing, the street, the fence, and how we're gonna resolve that over time.
I
We'll have
understand.
that until we're ready to like, hey, we've done it.
Okay, so do I have, the motion I think only included 7792,
Yeah,
so,
just added.
so you modified your motion, are you gonna second that modification?
7890.
Yeah, I'll second the motion to combine items 24 and
Okay.
25 for approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Can I ask a follow-up question, Sean, real quick?
No.
So, just out of curiosity, like my back fence is along the loop, so I know that it's at least considered a mud fence, right? Who owns, the people that live backing up to HEB, is that a mud fence too, or is that their fence?
It's their fence.
It's their offense, so that's something we need to take into consideration. Next month,
And
we'll
that's
talk
not-
Yeah,
about
we
it.
definitely have a longer discussion.
Okay, all right, we're gonna move on to number 2, which,
Thank you, Tony.
yes, thank
thank
you.
Okay, have a good night.
You see?
Good night. Actually, real quick, can I get a motion to approve consent items, minutes from April 17th and April 24th? Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
Okay, now we're gonna go up to AT&T installation. Ben, are you gonna?
And you wanna pull up item 22 as well, when we do this one?
Yes,
The 22 and
yes,
2?
correct, 2 and 22.
Yes, thank you.
Ben?
Oh, sorry, did you want me to do my report? or-
No, now, we're touching.
Why
on
not? The
why,
storage
why is Ben doing AT&T?
because he's the one
Well,
that's
we're
responsible.
gonna get it filled, that's what we're gonna talk about.
Okay.
Gotcha, so Ernie declined on coming to the meeting tonight, and then I believe we got in contact with a new Mr. Fletcher. I think it was too short notice for him to show up, I had to imagine. The email I got from Ernie about the update, he said as of today, they're about 90% complete with the section that they're in, so they have about 1,500, and concerning OK-Tex, which there's 2 boring companies in the neighborhood, you have OK-Tex and you have A&A cable contractors. OK-Tex is completely done except for some topsoil and like sod. So they're completely done with their boring project, they're just restoring some of the yards and review come back and review some more. But other than that, A&A contract is on.
Okay, through Shoemaker, do you wanna?
Yeah, so I've been in touch with some workers, Lisa, I asked them to reach out to you yesterday, I don't know how that conversation went, I haven't had a chance to be back with you yet, but basically, got new contacts, like I said, I figured you were able to come out at short notice, our priority was making sure that he was able to talk to Lisa and Ben about the cost of the district, right? Cause that's the long lead item, right? It's nice when they come talk to us, but district's gotta be reimbursed, also put to them the questions, which is more for residents about, how, I know that there's been some comments about some of the contractors saying that they, I guess, hit whatever cash limit they've got for mediation, so there's something like insurance, so trying to find contacts at AG to talk more about the process, but, would like to get them out, but that will probably need to be next meeting at
Okay.
best, but the big thing is I was trying to make sure, particularly for our purposes, we have stuff. One thing I did find out was that they were kinda like that concrete work in particular is something they tend to wanna do when the entire project's complete. Because if they have to go back and do any additional repair or boring, if it didn't work right or anything like that, they don't wanna pour concrete to remediate and then go back, like, oh, something's wrong with the conduit, we're gonna have to dig all this back up. So some of the
That
items
makes sense.
definitely.
It does, as long as it's not a driveway or something.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
But
sure.
my point though,
Yeah.
like, there is a method to the madness, at least on some of this
Yeah.
stuff, right, about that they wanna be sure the project is complete before they go around remediating some of this stuff, because there's no sense to remediate, to then tear it back up to remediate again.
Okay,
But so at least if you wanna, if you briefly were able to touch base with them, we can talk further later, I just wanna make sure everyone talk to them, we can keep moving on that.
Yeah, so briefly, just to give you guys an update, I do have another person that I am speaking with out at AT&T. He actually is above Ernie Alvarado, so any information that we receive from residents about having issues in their areas, if we have equipment, if we have materials or anything to that effect, if people are knocking on doors that aren't having any type of uniform, if they are not having any type of hangers, being put on doors beforehand, any of that information, I can reach out to this gentleman and he will go back and over, basically above Ernie.
Well, he's in a different division, he's with external relations.
Yes.
Ernie's part of the construction division.
right.
And he's the supervisor of these guys, but that's what's also like, I knew that the people that do the back end on the money and stuff are gonna be a different division than what Ernie does.
Yes, so what he's told me is that anything that we have going on, definitely to reach out to him, and he will continue to push that along to make sure that they are giving us a better service, if you will, during this construction time. He also did mention that he did go in and find that they're still lacking some information from our legal team. They need to be able to receive the invoices, they have not received that information, and that's from the subcontractor's attorney. They're saying that they have not received any information from us in that regard.
Would that be MAC as opposed to legal?
No. OK Texas attorney says that they have not received our invoices that show outstanding.
Who's sending the invoice?
This is the invoices that they're disputing. They say they don't have.
Yeah.
Okay, would you,
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah, that's,
send,
we've mailed them, we've
Yeah.
emailed.
So that's gonna go around, so it's saying roughly about 2 months to be able to contact with information, but they're working on that.
Okay, so on this after, I'm sure we get the right people at AT&T in contact, 'cause if they're hearing from the vendors that they're not getting them.
just to be
get
sure,
that
I
squared
mean,
away.
Ben, I think
Yeah.
from our perspective, like, we were bona fide dispute there about how the lines had been marked, right? That was my impression.
Yeah.
The last I've heard from their attorneys that they've been engaged.
okay, do we direct Sean onto,
Yes.
okay, Sean, you can direct it.
Lastly, I did just wanna provide with today I did receive an email from a resident that let me know that she actually had a great encounter with AT&T.
Good.
That they actually did give her an opportune time to be able to move her garden around, and they did not go into her easement and move anything or excavate until after she was able to completely remove her garden. And so she was wanting to give her kudos because that actually did work out really well for her.
Well, that's always good to hear too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, 22C is my agenda item, and I've been talking to Ben, and you're already doing this, but he has a tracking sheet, Excel spreadsheet. And last month we talked about even the times when they do cut the water lines, we wanna track that water loss, even if 1 or 2 times, it's not a huge amount. By the time they finish our district, it may be huge, so we're just tracking it, so he has everything like outstanding invoices, how much water loss and all that, so just wanted to kind of update you on that, okay? We'll probably come back to you. Okay, let's go back and follow the regular agenda. Williamson County, you're sitting in for W. Lovato.
So he's sitting in for Deputy Lovato, but I actually have Deputy Lovato too.
Okay,
He did mention that on the 5th, Deputy Boggs did find the pool gate open at Tomlinson Park popped open, so we have definitely let the pools and as well as any of our subcontractors know that that needs to be taken care of. They did find also a vehicle parked at Tomlinson Park. They were notified and they did have one new deputy on contract and they will remind him how we process that. And then the last thing that he mentioned is that he would like to remind everybody that obviously school is letting out next week. Please make sure that you lock your vehicles, close your garages, and don't leave anything in plain sight in the vehicles. He said we have been having a lot of burglaries of vehicles. Majority is people leaving their vehicles unlocked. Also, people have been able to gain access to residents because of that due to the garage doors opening, openers in vehicles. Please ask them to call the sheriff's office if people notice anybody in camera and not to confront them, and that's the only thing that he has.
We can put that as communication.
Absolutely, we can.
Okay, any questions for Lisa on Livingston County?
Got a question for Deputy Nguyen. Last time we met with Deputy Lovato, there's been a lot of name changes and we've got this new one and this old one and moving around. I understand Deputy Nguyen has been with us for a while, but I've also asked Deputy Lovato to, as deputies are on patrol during our meetings, to bring them in, do a quick introduction. So, and I've already talked with Deputy Nguyen. You could just give us a little heads up on how long you've been working for the district, a little information on Deputy Nguyen. And I'd like, this to be an overall effort to put faces to names as we read the police reports.
So, I'm Deputy Nguyen with the Williamson County Sheriff's Office. Been with the agency for 6 years. Been on this contract with the MUD since 2021. Prior to that, I worked at the Austin Police Department.
Oh, great.
Well, thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you for all your help and helping take care of our community.
And he does great community policing.
Yes.
The kids love him. He gives them little badges and, sticker badges, they love it.
Let's see.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to number 6, closure of park gates on weekends and weeknights. You
So,
go first, Steph?
yes, we actually did have some subcommittee conversations with amenities, and the gates have been something that Director Young has wanted the deputies not to have to come out after they've already been patrolling through the night and have to lock the gates. He has mentioned that he would be willing to lock gates whenever he is in the district. However, the kind of protocol, if you will, has not been working very well. We have noticed that because this is an option, that it has been utilized more often than I think we've ever seen it before. And we have had moments where we actually have not had gates closed at all. I have received information that gates were not closed this past weekend, and Deputy Lovato was gonna look into that for us. In order for us to be able to get around this whole gate debacle, if you will, my recommendation was pulling in a person that would be willing to come in and lock gates Monday through Friday, have the deputies only lock gates on Saturdays and Sundays, and we do have a gate opener on Saturdays and Sundays. We already pay the deputies $55 I think an hour, and this person would come in at $45 an hour, saving the district $10, obviously for every time they do that. This would be somebody that we could definitely rely on, and this gate debacle will go away at least until the end of the fiscal year, and if you guys wanna look at that, again, we can, but obviously we could pull some of those finances from, what the deputies aren't utilizing in the contract to be able to offset that cost.
Okay, so this is informational on the agenda. I know we can still vote on it. Are we under place to vote? We probably actually need a proposal,
If
right?
you'd like to get the rest of
What
them,
do you think, Sean?
Probably so.
Okay, let's add that to the agenda next month and then we'll vote on it.
Yeah, I'd like to have some discussion about this.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
came up with a subcommittee, I don't wanna belabor it tonight, because I think, much like some of the stuff we've been talking about with the end of the street, this needs some serious time to discuss, right?
Absolutely.
More than I think we've got time to devote to it tonight,
Yeah.
Okay.
because I think there's a lot of stuff to be discussed here, both with the deputies, with the district safety, the users of these areas, right? Because I think personally, there may be a different happy medium here that involves how some of the users and everybody else interacts, but I mean, it's already
Okay,
7:28, so let's put it on the agenda for next month to discuss.
and then
please.
bring a proposal. so we
Yeah,
can address something.
I'm not, I'd like to add to the request in the proposal. We've got 4 gates that need to be locked, on a regular basis. But like the bike park one is right across the street from an open parking lot. Tomlinson Gate is open, we've got an open parking lot here. I don't know that we wanna lock every parking lot, including Apache and such. I would like us to consider maybe just moving down to the Humano one, so if we can get a quote on just getting the single one, and then next month we can debate if we wanna consider.
Get a quote for both, get a quote for all of them and a quote for one.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, and then let's discuss this next month, that's good? Because you guys all brought up some good points. Okay, let's move on to amenities. Report from Premier, Mark.
All right, well, thank you. The first couple of weekends we had Tomlinson open, the weather wasn't the greatest, so didn't see much traffic. However, this past weekend, we had close to 200 people in the pool on both Saturday and Sunday.
Wow, that's great.
I came up around 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, and they said it was even busier than when I got there, and there was about 175 people in at that point. So definitely very well used. I know there's an issue with the Bravo system here at Tomlinson right now, that they're getting it reworked, so we've been having to let people in, which we try to see their key card, but at the same time, when it's really busy and we have 7 guards and we're running around, sometimes they are just opening the gate and letting people in.
So what is the issue with the Bravo system?
I'll let Lisa talk to that, because I'm not.
So during the freeze, the Brevo system was affected because we had to pull out the Wi-Fi box and security. Trinity AV did that for us. We did obviously repair all of that area. However, they have not been back out to reinstall it. And so we are, Trinity
I thought we fired them.
AV, we have not. And so I have the current box and everything here. We do have this on the table tonight with Cochran's to have them reinstall if you all decide to go with that proposal
But
tonight.
I thought we released Trinity.
I think this is.
Not yet.
Wrong question.
We defer that
Yeah.
to later in the agenda, yeah, we'll talk about it.
I think it's gonna
Okay.
come from legal.
Okay.
I
I'm
also
being very confused right now.
Okay.
I thought they were required to.
Okay, Mark, you can continue.
So anyways, we've had that issue, it's not a big deal, just that some people are probably getting in that may not be residents or, so we're working through that, but we're excited. We've had the part-time opening, I don't believe we've ever been open before Memorial Day weekend before, from my understanding, so it was definitely well used last weekend, and it's shortened hours, it was noon to 5. We are open full 10 to 8 starting this Saturday. So we're excited and ready for it. We do have the parties on the agenda. We've got a party Friday for the 5th graders, and then I believe on the 31st, we have a after-hours party. We fully staffed for the swim team, ready to go there. We're staffed for the Masters, but I'm hearing that you want us to pull off of the Masters.
Yes, we voted, so you don't need to do masters, but I think LISD will be reaching out to you to
Yes.
see if you can help them with next year.
Not a problem at all.
Okay.
Glad to help them out. I do have a few guards that can work the early mornings, and they're planning to stay with me all year, so.
Good, okay.
That shouldn't be too big of a problem.
Okay, Director Roberts?
Yeah, I just have one question, and Lisa might be able to answer this. So if the Bravo system's not working, and it was very, very, very packed, and how are we verifying that they're residents?
We're asking them to show their key fobs if they have a key
Do
fob.
they have a list to verify that?
No, they do not.
This is a temporary thing though, so we'll get it fixed. Okay,
Is this like Memorial Day weekend? Okay.
okay. Anything else, Mark?
No, just
Thank you.
excited, we're fully staffed and ready to go, so.
Happy pool
We're
season.
here. We did, thankfully, both movies were available, so we have the license for both movies, and we're good to go.
That's gonna be fun.
Don't have to.
Residents are really excited, so thank you. Okay, have a good evening. Priority trip.
Okay, so you guys all have the monthly report in the packet, and then I just have 3 proposals to go over, and that's really all I have for this evening. I don't know how you want to go through one at a time, I'm assuming.
Let's do this. Do I have a motion to approve proposal 3923 in the amount of, I don't have that, 10,000. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, before we have discussion, why don't you describe it quickly?
It's just, same thing we've done every year, we treated the parks for mosquitoes, practice for as well.
Okay, any, Director Shoemaker?
No comment, sorry.
Director Roberts?
No.
This is pretty routine.
Director Johnson? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Nebraska Fire Department will reach out to you on mosquito information.
Just let me know,
Okay,
thank you.
do I have a proposal, do I have a motion to approve proposal 3949?
Motion. Second.
Okay. You wanna describe it, Trev?
There was just an accident, we noticed it,
Oh, yeah.
just somebody ran it over.
Yeah, and the cops weren't called or anything, so we don't have any insurance. Okay, any discussion?
How much is the tree and how much is the labor?
I don't have that broken down in front of me.
Could you just give me a rough estimate? 150 for the tree, 200?
250 maybe,
250.
200, something like that.
And 30 gallon means how big the dirt and the root ball is. The height of the crepe myrtle,
Probably 6 foot.
okay,
It's a pretty good sized tree, a 30 gallon.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, proposal 3969, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Tripp?
So this is just an option to continue fire break. The hours that were in the contract are about exhausted. I think we have 2 days, day and a half, 2 days, something like that left. So, yeah, I know. Long way to go. So this was just, we've had a lot of calls from residents that need things taken care of, and it was just, this would be something that Lisa can direct us to do, and it's there, and we just always put it there just in case.
We've had a lot of calls for, Pine Portage, Loop, as well as South Walker, and so that would kind of fall in line with the area that they had been in, and call it a breaking point, if you will.
But what is it the resident's asking to do? I mean, we shouldn't be doing anything for a resident.
It's
They're not doing anything for
This
the
is on our
resident.
property, I mean,
They're asking for the fire break behind their home because they have so much old dead debris that they want to have
So
that.
we missed that in our
No,
proposal?
we are not able to get to it because we've exhausted the hours.
Oh, that
So he's
makes
asking for
sense.
increased hours.
They're seeing, I think, if I'm seeing on Facebook, people are seeing the work done nearby.
Yes.
And they're like, when are you gonna do the fire break behind my
So they're
house?
asking for this. So my
Right.
question is, do we have the budget for this?
That is something that we don't have an answer for. I could actually bring this back as a proposal next month after we have a budgeting session to look at the finances that we're at right now.
And we do have a budget session next month, the subcommittee does, so, okay, we're gonna go ahead and table this one.
Can,
I'll address-
are we able to still discuss?
Yeah.
I'm curious, we're looking at a proposal for additional funds. At this point, we're only paying for it with, already like a general fund for priority, and they have extra hours, is that what's going on?
They have a contract that we had fire break in it. We had roughly 200 and, how many hours? 270 plus hours in there, and that was budgeted, contracted work. And so now we have exhausted those hours, and these are still residents that are asking for help. And this would give us that opportunity to be able to do that with the budgeted dollars.
But we need to know if we can have that.
Exactly.
Where we're gonna pull it
That's
from.
correct.
Okay.
And then,
That exceeds the amount in the original budget.
behind Claudia, like, great work back there, it looks fantastic. Are we adding that area to your annual maintenance? So we're gonna be mowing it at least once a year, and we won't have to do major fire break work again?
Yes.
How many hours did you consume? That was a one-day project that you guys did that? How many days did that take?
5 or 6, and we still need to go and spread all the mulch.
Yeah.
So you've got at least another day.
Okay, so we've classified them as like 3 different levels of thickness, essentially. Some are gonna be easier, some are gonna be faster. That was one of the worst ones. How many of what you guys see back there, what you've scouted, like how many more sections of that size do we have left?
It's hard to say.
Well, I
You've got
guess-
so much dense area.
But maybe if this is gonna get pinned in the next meeting, maybe
Yeah.
to be this long, cause I know we had the kind of the initial map of like worst priority areas. Maybe if next meeting we kind of have that mapped out where you've done work with those areas, that way we can see.
Color code it, so.
You know, I like drilling down
And
into
then
the
the color
numbers,
code,
right?
compare the work
So,
we've done,
so
that's color code.
trying to match some of the questions I'd be following up with tonight and help me out next meeting.
I'll be on subcommittee meeting too, so.
Awesome.
Okay,
So we
alright,
pin this one?
Thank you, Trip.
this one is
Looks-
being
It looks
tabled.
great back there, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anything from the amenities subcommittee, our reports in the packet?
Reports in the packet.
Report from the security. Reports in the packet.
Reports in the packet.
Okay, we're gonna go to PR communications, anything on special events?
We have been advertising, as Sandy mentioned, for the special events that they have coming up, that we have coming up. We have the June newsletter coming out. Actually, it was dispersed on the 18th of May. That'll go out with the Crossroads utility bill. So yeah,
Okay, so that was newsletter, transparency, let me do everything. Resident survey, I cannot wait to hear an update on this.
resident survey is going very well. We do have a little bit more than 600 residents that have taken the
Awesome.
survey so far. We do have the OA helping us push, considering they do have a vast amount of residents that are on their side of the
Thank you, Sandy.
district as well, so we can
Or
just keep
Lisa.
pushing that. And we're gonna send out just another advertisement to let residents know that we'll have roughly 9 days left by starting tomorrow, so that we can.
Okay, so for the June, regular meeting, we'll have an update and breakdown of all the data and everything. Okay,
Sounds
600 is amazing. Director Roberts can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last 2 times we ran a survey, the most we got was like 100 or 120.
We're probably a little bit more than that, but I think even 600 is not a whole lot compared to.
It's the best we've ever had, and so I think we should celebrate that.
Yeah, I mean, it's progress.
2,200 homes versus 600.
Okay, let's move on. Restricted covenants. David?
I don't think that,
We haven't even really.
no, the last thing we voted on as a group, is still in progress. That probably, there's not a update worthy of the board to go into executive session at this point. There might
Okay.
be next time. There are a few things that might come to the fore before the next meeting. It's an unfortunate reality that a lot of times it takes a notice of impending litigation to get things resolved. We're continuing to work to, make things easier, the understanding of the rules, things like that, to make sure residents understand, for those that are accidentally, breaking the rules.
And if you, well,
There are.
I'll reiterate it for people who watch us later, who are watching now. If you've got a question, contact us. If you get a letter, contact us, contact Cam. The third thing I'll say is an FYI for people. If it's barking dogs, if you have an issue with dog and noise nuisance, that is not a restrictive covenants thing, it's ultimately something the deputies have to address. Sorry to direct you in, but you know.
Small
I
portion.
mean, some people call us asking like, hey, I've got barking dogs.
Unless you got distinctively 4 different dogs yapping in the backyard.
Yeah, especially if
Then it becomes.
If there's a number of animals
number of
issue,
dogs, not
that's an
the-
issue that,
Okay.
with the bark.
Anything else on
That is
restricted
all I
covenants?
have.
Okay, let's move on. Finance, Tyler, are you on the phone?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Ursula. Good evening, everybody. It's Tyler Wilson with Municipal Accounts and Consulting. We'll go ahead and start the bookkeeping report. The district did receive a $225,000 donation from Nebraska Furniture Mart. That is, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, but that is to be used for the checks being approved are checks 8882 through 8932. We do have 3 transfers to that manager's account in order to pay bills. We also had a tax transfer. We had a CD mature with Independent Bank, and we went ahead and reinvested that CD. It's set to mature in October, and it has a 5.5% interest rate.
Tyler, I've got a question for you real quick.
Sure.
Does it need to be shown the donation? Is there a better word than donation? It's to take care of, I mean, it's basically.
It's a donation.
Their exchange for tying into our system.
Well, what was good, they have the right
No, I know
to
that.
discharge the stormwater, so we had to take it regardless. So this isn't any kind of quid pro quo or exchange of goods, because we could not block someone from discharging the stormwater onto our property line, right? We had to accept the existing flow, and so this is more of a, they're working with us because the piece that they've asked for, they did not have the right to, is the easement to tie in.
That's what I'm saying.
But the point though is that we could not stop them, so I think the point is that, the other thing too is like, we're not selling, this is, you know,
No,
Sean,
it's
if you
a-
wanna get the legal, this isn't a sale.
That's how we characterize it.
Okay,
Yeah.
as long as, I just thought it was.
Okay.
So that money was initially offered, it was, a sum, it was basically like, we're gonna help you guys build a park or something like that. And then we settled on the number, so could we perhaps at an upcoming meeting figure out what we're gonna do with this, other than just throw it in the bank, but.
No, we're
But
applying it
we
to the
talked about
Tomlinson
applying it to
Playscape.
Tomlinson
That's what the
Playscape.
board decided.
Because they originally, because part of the reason they did this original offer of doing a park is, like, well, we're gonna do work on this plot, right, tear it up to build the easement, right? But then we came to the conclusion that that was not the world's biggest and best location for a park anyway, right, it's kinda low. You can see where there's water standing on it now, but then with the loss of Tomlinson Playscape, we definitely, so that one kinda got worked out as we worked through that.
So my dream skate park windfall thing's gonna go on hold until
Yeah.
we get another windfall of some sort.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so
though.
let's
Keep
keep
moving, yeah.
moving with Tyler. Were you on fund transfers? I'm sorry, I lost where you were.
Sure. The only thing I had left was the tax collections. We're at 98.41% collected, so doing pretty good there. And that's all I have unless you guys have any questions.
Okay, so,
The garden, community, having funds coming and going, stuff like that, maybe wanting to do fundraisers for different things. They asked about maybe getting a bank account of their own so that money donated could go into them. And, it would be controlled by the district, but, didn't we ask to find out about that at the last?
yeah, so let's add that, Sean and Lisa, to the agenda for next month.
Yeah.
So, do I have a motion to approve the bills and invoices, funds and investments?
Motion.
Transfers?
Second.
Any more discussion?
Yes, I have a question.
Mhm.
It has internet at $1,587. Is that what we pay a month for internet now?
It's fiber.
It's a fiber. I am working on getting taxes refunded on that amount, and I am working with a new, representative for AT&T to find us a better plan. But the representative that initially I was working with is no longer there, and so we're working to see what better plan, if there is one for us at a lesser rate.
Is that in addition to the, I see an internet expense of $517, so it's really almost $2,000 a month?
Those are for all of the additional
Okay.
Wi-Fi's that we have at all the pools,
Okay.
the ground storage tank and so forth, and Jemana.
Tyler, can you at least allocate those to specific Walker House and then maybe to the amenities?
We do have those listed.
Oh, they are in, okay.
Okay, any more discussion?
Are we doing Wi-Fi at Mono as well? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 3 connections, internet connections, one in this area, one at Apache, one in Mono.
Awesome.
At where?
The ground storage tank.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, number 19, fence project loans.
You don't have anything to vote on with that?
All right, report from Finance and Audit Subcommittee. We met, and,
Tyler,
yes, Tyler, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler.
Director Johnson and I will be meeting next month, to kind of go over our current budget and where we need to make adjustments and start preparing for budget season. So we've got that planned.
And then we're also considering doing a special meeting,
Yes,
uh,
probably June.
for any budget, you know, moving where,
Oh my God,
with
it's like
overages and
already a
underages.
year, huh?
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so that's pretty much all we got. We are gonna continue, well, start working on and then continue on, being able to take credit cards for reservations. That's something that we are gonna take on here pretty quickly. Okay, services, Gray Engineering's done, Nebraska's done. Crossroads, Ben, you're back up.
I'll try to keep this quick. So our water loss this month is looking better, we're at -13%, so that's good.
Wow.
Gives us some breathing room from last month. We have one write-off this month, for $36.60. I tried to call this customer 3 times, left voicemails, I'm not sure what happened,
Motion.
so yeah, we just need a motion for that.
Second.
I'm sorry, which one was that?
Write-offs.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
And then I'm not sure if I need to touch on the unpaid invoices now, since we kind of touched on it earlier.
No, I think we got that covered.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
but thank you.
And then, I sent a quick PowerPoint to Chris, who's gonna throw it over the board at the last meeting. I know we had some questions about the ground storage tank.
Okay.
Just a quick 5-minute overview of the tank, the chlorine, and kind of what Crossroads does. So this is your ground storage tank. You have your classic 3 tanks in Texas. You know, you have your one that you see on the interstates, the tall ones. And you have a standpipe, which is taller than it is wide. And then you have a ground storage tank, which is wider than it is tall. Next slide, please. Yeah, there you go. So, Blockhouse has, this ground storage tank that was built in 1995, 32 feet tall and 52 feet wide. It holds a max of 500,000 gallons, and currently today, it's sitting at 444,000. Next slide. Alright, so the tank is ran on these transducers that talk to these fill valves or clay valves, which is what you're looking at. And this pipe that you're looking at is in the ground, behind the ground storage tank, kind of where the fence is. And this kind of talks back and forth to how the level should sit in the tank. And it sends signals back and forth, telling it to open and close. And if you look at the picture to the right, there's a little small circle to the right, it's kind of hard to see. That's the little rubber diaphragm that failed on us when we had the overflow. And that's the little pilot line. You see the little blue tiny pipe on the right side of the big circle. That kind of tells it to open and close as necessary. So,
It's crazy.
next slide, please. It's important, the blockhouse, because it protects us from anything that happens at Cedar Park. So if Cedar Park has a fire, or if they have an emergency, the blockhouse is not gonna lose pressure or water for quite a long time, because we have 400 or 500,000 gallons at our disposal. So it kind of creates like a buffer zone, and we hold system pressure at 68 to 75 PSI, and Cedar Park is a lot lower, from 50 to 55. So it's good, we actually have really good pressure in this neighborhood compared to some of our neighbors.
Thankful for the old board.
Yeah. All right, so this is what happened, this is kind of the incident, I'll touch on this. What happens when the level gets too high? When the tank gets full, that fill valve, that little rubber diaphragm that I'll show you on the picture, it'll close. That rubber diaphragm failed to close, so it was left in the on position. So it filled up and overflowed, and then went out the discharge pipe on the backside of the tank and out into the creek. And those things are constantly moving, like up and down every day, all day. So they wear out, unfortunately, and it's just kind of a headache we have to do with our preventative maintenance.
Why would this kill fish?
Well, I'm gonna get that later, but in pure speculation on why it killed fish, but I'll get to that part at the end. Next slide, please. So this is the chlorine info. So Blockhouse, just a reminder, we don't produce chlorine, we don't make chlorine. We get our chlorine from the city of Cedar Park. So they throw the chlorine at their water plant, and then they send it in their big transmission line to Blockhouse. And the normal chlorine parameters are 0.5 to 4.0 parts per million ppm. And that's coming from the EPA and TCEQ, saying that is safe enough to drink your water if you have a chlorine level between 0.5 and 4.0. And so Cedar Park usually doses theirs at 2.6 or 3.0, or 3.3. And then every day when our operator comes to Blockhouse, there's a little faucet at the bottom of the tank that they check the chlorine. And so we get a chlorine residual as well, just to kind of, cover our bases that it's safe and it's in the parameters of safe drinking water. So on the day of the discharge, after the water all came out, we took a chlorine sample at the fill line, and it was 2.81, which is normal. And then we took a chlorine sample down in the creek, which showed 0.0.
At the same time?
Yeah, at the same time. We did one at the faucet and then one at the creek.
Okay.
So it's kind of hard to say what, if it was more of just a lack of oxygen that went in, because it wasn't the amount of chlorine, I'm speculating here, that went in there, because we have a safe amount of chlorine in our drinking water. And that safe level is not gonna, what we think is not gonna kill fish or kill wildlife. Regardless, we submitted that ticket to TCEQ, and that's kind of out of our ballpark.
And they never came out and inspected, right?
We did not, because then we had all the heavy rain, but we did our part by submitting it, documenting it, but we can't force them to come out, and we probably won't hear back from them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So.
And I think Director Roberts did notice that.
I counted 4 fish in the creek.
New ones or live?
Yeah, well, there were some babies and then,
Yeah.
And the water is so nice and clear right now.
Is there another slide?
Yes, there's one more, and then, just what are we gonna do moving forward? So right now, all of our parts at the ground storage tank and the pump station are at a as-needed basis, or basically once a year. Right now, we use Fluid Meter Service, which is our third-party specialist. They come in once a year already. So if the board wants, we can have them come in twice a year to inspect the parts, or quarterly if the board wants to. And they're gonna check all the small parts, the rubber diaphragms, the pilot lines, make sure everything's running correctly as it should. We also have checks for the AC system in there that keeps all the pumps cool, because you have to keep the pump room at a certain degree to keep all the parts going. So I have a quote for you guys that I can present or email to everybody, but I can have Fluid Meter come out more than once a year or quarterly, whatever you guys want.
Yeah, so, give us the proposals in the packet next month for quarterly, different options, okay?
Gotcha.
Thank you, Ben, that was exactly what I was looking to get, the
Awesome.
information.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Ben.
All right, y'all have a
Anything
great night.
you
Yeah, be
too.
safe going home, it didn't really fly right
Yes,
there.
thank you.
Okay, yeah.
26.
26, report from TDS, I don't think we have anything that's in packet. Stormwater, I don't think we have anything on that. Services subcommittee, do you all have anything?
Don't
Nope.
get that meeting.
Maybe the meeting.
Yeah, I read it. Yeah. Good, okay. Purchase for Microsoft Teams software for staff. They were using the free app from Teams and they were having some problems with it and then they went to,
Elevate, which is part of the data block system that we did purchase with our phones. But because we're not having good luck with that, we did go back to our software provider and we did ask them what that would cost. It's $144 for Amy and I to go back to Teams and then also add a phone number to that, so people that can't log on by Teams, you can still call in.
Is that monthly or annually?
That's annual.
annually
So,
for two.
do we need any agreements for confidential and proprietary information? I mean, is it just in typical, is cybersecurity, things like
I'm
that?
happy to look at whatever.
Yeah, they should have that as part of it.
I would think Teams, we do it all the
They have to have a
time.
data privacy
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah, state agencies have it, other
We have a
governments have it.
company, you know, so.
Okay, bring us the proposal next month, and, cause I do want you guys, the amount of meetings we have on Zoom, we need something stable.
Yeah.
Okay? Yes.
Real quick, would it be possible to just approve it, because I know sometimes, I mean, we're all on subcommittees and we suffer through sometimes the mishaps, is it possible to
Does that require?
approve
It
it?
doesn't require
something,
approval, and anything that I need, I can forward it over.
So we can just direct her to purchase it.
Yeah.
Okay,
if
the
that's all
GM's
right.
been directed to
I think
purchase
that's
Teams.
Yeah, that's what we were showing, so.
Okay, Tummelson Park Playscape, project schedule, including, the schematics, so that's in, oh, hey Trent, I didn't even see you here.
It's very quiet.
I know.
It's very stealthy tonight, so. In your packet is a preliminary schedule update, same schedule that's been in there, along with our kind of schematic design deliverable that we presented just over a week ago to the Parks Committee. So as far as schedule goes, we just completed schematic design and that is in your packet. So we're right on target with that, have started our design development work, which will take us through the end of June to get through design development. What that means is we're going to start meeting with playground manufacturers and start facilitating how we're going to get the playground done, because about 75% of it is pretty much custom and not things that you can get off the shelf. So our next step is to really start going through that and start working through some preliminary layouts, details, and all the little custom design things that are in Playscape. So I don't know how much you wanna run through this, but
Well, I think everybody has seen it, it's in their packet, so does anybody have questions
you guys,
about
I would be happy to entertain
the
questions.
draft plan schematics? If not, we can move on.
Thank you. I don't have.
Yeah, I mean, there's
No,
nothing,
we appreciate the work on this, Trent, it looks very good.
It looks good.
I'm excited.
I'm
So,
excited to go take a picture.
should the subcommittee meet in the next couple of weeks, or is there a need to?
No need, we'll get back to you as soon as we get to that next level.
Okay.
We did run, the ROM, Brooklyn Gratitude budget, we're, about 1.25 is kind of where we originally landed at for our internal budgets. But we're hoping to be able to kind of massage that once we get in and start talking to the manufacturers, and start really getting into more detail. So, the one thing that hasn't been done that I think was on an agenda item earlier was getting a topo survey done, just to make sure, for us to be able to grade this out properly, because we do have grade changes happening within the Playscape. It would be great to be able to know spot grades.
How much is it, do you know an estimate?
Yeah, they're usually $1,500. I mean,
So let's,
We did
We did a
extensive
survey.
surveying a
They
couple
can
years
do it.
back, David should have those.
he does have a survey. It is, it's an improvement survey, so it's tree and.
Doesn't have topo in it.
But I wonder if that firm could do the topo.
Right, and that's something that I know, a couple meetings ago, that it was on one of his agenda
It
items
was.
as a reminder. And so that's something that would really help, it would really help us out. If not, we're gonna be, we're gonna be guessing a lot.
Yeah, no, we need to do it right the first time.
Yeah, I'd
So
rather not
it's not on the agenda tonight, but is there a way we can direct?
Can we ratify it at the next meeting?
Respectfully, our end date here is April 25. You know, how much does that affect, if we ratify at the next meeting, how does that affect your schedule?
You're fine. If we have it by the end of design development, we're in good shape.
Yeah,
We know generally what's happening out there. We won't be able to final CDs and final grades until we get to the CDs. So.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
And part of this, I would like to defer to David Grayon, who, recommendation on who does.
Well, we could direct him to work with David Gray on it, right?
And David already had, he was gonna go back to the same person that did the survey. And
Okay.
Can any of them bring that back to next meeting so we can then approve? Like,
We're gonna ratify it in the next meeting, but
Okay.
we're basically giving him permission to do it, it's $1,500, so.
yeah, that's no problem.
And it's a reimbursable cost, right? I mean, I realize it's also.
Yeah, it's going on.
Yeah, it would be reimbursable.
Yeah, okay,
That has to go through David, not me, but.
all right, thank you, Trent.
Awesome.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, Trent.
Thank you, be safe going home. I love the plans.
Legal.
Best part. Let's see, under
Says
agenda
it, right?
item number 32, regulatory considerations relating to area around community gardens keep deer away, and also the chicken coop. So I did reach out to Kathy Mitchell from Jones and Carter and Liquidity. She did confirm that there would be MS4 concerns with having a chicken coop out there, so, and Lucy would put on the same emails, that would probably necessitate some, if you just put the chicken coop out there, that would be problematic, so you'd have to put some system in place to potentially account for that.
I toured Deep Eddy Community Garden with the leaders of our community garden, and they have 25 chickens, and they're right next to the Lady Bird Lake right there. So I'm curious, I mean, if they really want this, maybe they could do a little bit more research and figure out how they get it, you know? Because it's literally just right there.
Well, to be sure, Kathy is also on an MS4 point, is there's a training coming up, so we can bring it up at that point.
Okay.
Nothing else under my report there. Following up on Trent stuff and the submission of the bond, we have the formal, under tab 33 here, resolution expressing official intent to reimburse certain expenditures. If you undertake a qualified expenditure before the issuance of the bond, this resolution provides that you can reimburse yourselves. As we've talked about, I think we've talked about this since as long as we've been talking about it.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, 34.
All right, so this gets us back to security. Board members, you have approved multiple proposals from Cochran's. Unfortunately, each time we've approved one, we have discovered that we need one or two more things. So what you have in front of you tonight, behind tab 34 and 35 should look familiar because you've again approved an individual security monitoring agreement, and then a separate proposal to install various equipment related to either Brigo stuff, or the installation of the actual security agreement. So, the cost on the quote has gone up a little bit. The security monitor agreement has also been updated to include Brigo, which it did not originally have. Long story short, Lisa and I have worked extensively with Cochran's, to get this updated. I think if anything, there might have been some confusion on the Cochrane side about the fact that you guys need to approve all these things, and you only meet once a month. So, unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at, but I think Lisa and I have talked a couple times on this, and this should get us to where we need to be. At that point, Director Roberts, we can go back and finalize everything else with the previous contractor.
Yeah, we want to do that when this is done.
Okay.
So in particular, the initial
Who's
proposal,
communicating with Mr. McKelvey? Because,
I will do that.
okay, because I'm hearing from people that know him that there's no communication.
There hasn't been because we couldn't do it, when Brivo was left as the outlier, we needed to make sure that when we transitioned to everything at once, we didn't want to do it piecemeal.
I think just out of respect, somebody needs to talk to him like Cindy.
Yeah, we'd made a decision as a board that Sean would talk to them when we were ready.
But that was months ago.
Yeah, but we weren't ready. So
Well,
I know
still.
that's what the board decided.
So I understand that, but I think it's courtesy, he is a taxpayer, and he's a resident of Blockhouse, so I think in all respect, he deserves at least some communication.
Okay.
Even if it's pending and we're waiting on this.
Well, and also, they were the ones that wanted to get out of the contract.
Well,
So this
not
isn't a
what I'm
surprise.
told, but.
Well, but we had talked to them.
Well, I think part of the issue is they didn't respond to Sean, your original communication, part of what drove this was like when you talked to them about extending, they were at minimum ambivalent, is my understanding about.
They didn't wanna do it.
Well, my point is like, they did not express at any point they wished to continue, there was no
Well,
affirmative
it's-
extension
Just
of the
to,
contract.
Yeah.
well, to speak to your concerns, Director Roberts, I mean, we didn't want to transition until we were ready to transition. And quite frankly, I thought we were gonna be there after our last meeting, and then it ends up that we weren't there. And so it was just a matter of, you know, do I call them up to tell them, hey, we're fixing to cancel, or do I call them up to say, we're canceling?
Yeah, there's another side of the story that I've heard now, and it's not very favorable, so I just wanna make sure we treat him with some respect and dignity. So, all right, thank you.
Okay, so do I have a,
I do have one comment. Can somebody correct the invoice? It says Leander Mud, it's not Leander Mud.
no, I don't wanna go through
I
another
know,
version.
that's one big pet peeve. I
Yeah,
have.
no, I got it. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve their agreement?
So it's the security agreement under 34 and the proposal under 35.
And the proposal is $9,997. So do I have a motion to approve both?
Just the final.
Motion.
Well, no, because it says Leander Mudd.
I know, but I'm just saying. is this-
Pending that correction.
is this
Okay, I'm
the-
sorry, did you motion?
Robert motion,
Okay, do I
David
have a second? Any more discussion?
That's, as long as.
Everyone
this
in
is it.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, number 37, case in AWBD. So, as you all may recall, and I went back and looked at several of our meetings, we chose not to renew case membership. We do have an AWBD membership, and we said at the last meeting, you know, you can definitely go to one of the conferences. If you wanted to go to case, but you don't have a membership, you need to have board approval. So, does anybody want to go to case?
I do.
Okay, so we do not have a membership, so, and I guess, can I make this,
think so.
discussion,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So is there a motion to approve, are you going to AWBD too?
I was going to, and then I don't mind paying my own expenses at case. I don't even want a per diem, I just wanna go, because it's,
So, but we would have to pay the membership for you to go.
possibly, because I may be a speaker.
So-
Oh, they're in Accountia?
Huh?
They're not in
I don't
Accountia?
know yet. I haven't
Oh,
confirmed
okay.
that.
Well, okay, so this is
I
May,
offered it to them.
and Director Roberts, this is May, and it's early June. So for us to, like, if we approve something tonight, we need to know if we're gonna pay the $600 or not for the membership. This board had said not to pay the membership.
And where was that at? Because I tried to go back in the minutes and I could not.
It
find
was right after, Director Young and I
Was it
came back
November?
from the conference,
Because
and
I
we all
couldn't
gave our.
find it. I listened for everything.
No, it was in two different meetings, I found it, we all gave our
Would you
reviews of
send
it.
it to me?
And
No,
last
I'm
month's
gonna go back. and
Well, I
find it.
mean, I just want to know, because I tried to find it and I
In
could not
last
find
month's
it.
meeting, it was listed on, minute 36 of last month's YouTube meeting. So I mean, on the YouTube video, you can look at.
In November?
36, of last month.
No, we voted to not renew it.
Oh, I'll pull it up for you too.
Yeah, so that's what I tried to find it. I
Okay,
couldn't find it.
So the discussion on the table right now is Director Roberts wants to go to case, so do I have a motion to approve the membership for her to go to case?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second, if you can, David, to that question.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, a lot of conferences offer a discount if you're a member, but you don't have to be a member to go. Do we all have to have a MUD membership for
A
one
case
person?
membership to go,
That's what I mean, yeah. You know what I mean?
yeah,
No, I
like,
think it covers the mud as a whole.
It does, everybody is gonna be a member.
but could she attend without the membership?
Everybody's a member at
Sure.
that point.
Sure, but I mean, like a lot of conferences, every conference I've ever been to, if I think, like it's X to go if you're a
Right.
member and, you know, Y to go if you're not.
Mhm.
And it'd probably be, the difference would probably be cheaper than $600, I'm guessing.
Mhm.
Is case a closed conference?
I think it is a closed conference. You have to be a member in order to be able to attend it.
Yeah,
Or a vendor.
A vendor, yeah,
Or what about a speaker?
I know, yeah, I haven't heard back.
yeah.
I just threw it
Well-
out there because of this situation.
Okay, so, I'm gonna go around the table one more time, Director Shoemaker?
Uh,
Trent's gone.
And he's
I was
not
gonna
present.
make a suggestion, maybe you're in the motion, that to approve this only conditional that they, well, on a condition that, well, I'm phrasing this wrong, gosh, I can't talk. that, with the contingency that if they will comp Director Roberts ongoing, that we don't have to pay, right? If they'll comp it.
Well, then we don't need to vote on anything, if they're comping her, then.
Well, that's the point, like, if they aren't gonna comp it, if they,
We're not sure.
that's what point, like, if they're not gonna comp it, we don't know yet.
Well,
Okay.
she already said she's gonna cover those expenses. Well, she's just asking to be reimbursed for the case membership.
But
Not be reimbursed.
She's just
maybe
paying
I'm,
us.
maybe I'm totally lost what
just be
we're
a member.
approving. Or this is looking to join case.
This is looking to pay the
For
membership.
the whole board, if the board chose to go, they could.
Okay, wait, okay.
Because I still think there's value in case, I think it's local.
Yeah.
And Trent's coming, and the upcoming president, and so I think there's gonna be a lot of substantial changes that are gonna take place.
Okay, any more discussion?
I do
Director?
appreciate that it's local, but I wish it was somewhere local, not South Padre, right, which is quite a distance. And I'm, that's not a stab at you, that's a stab at Case.
It's always been like that, but for 40 years, so.
Okay, so I'll just reiterate my point was that we already pay for AWBD. It's a much stronger association. Their website's better, they have better resources. I've been cased probably 3 or 4 times. It has never been fantastic. Trent is not president yet. He'll be voted in president in June. So, do we need to go around one more time or are we ready to vote? And this is, we're just voting on the membership for Case.
All right, is
That
anybody,
makes sense, I was confused.
well, I'm curious, is anybody doing the AWBD conference this year?
I cannot make either one, I just said.
So Cecilia, you're gonna go to vote.
I will be there as well.
Okay, good. I'll see you then.
Okay, so, the other point I'm gonna make is, for directors to go to both conferences it makes me a little uncomfortable with spending taxpayer money on that. I think it'd be better if you chose one over the other. So I'm gonna go around one more time, and then we're gonna vote on case membership. Director Shoemaker.
No, I understand what we're voting on now, so I think I
Okay.
have the questions.
Okay, Director Roberts.
And I'm gonna cover my own hotel. I'm not asking for per diems. I'm just going to, because it's something that's very, very close to me, and I think it's something that, as a local board, we should support.
Director Johnson.
Good questions.
Director Young.
No more comments.
Okay, all in favor of paying for the case membership, which I believe is $600, which would allow Director Roberts to go to the conference with no reimbursements. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm abstaining, I can't decide, I'd
You
like,
can't wrap your head around it?
in a sense.
Okay, all right,
And your vote?
I said no.
You let me know if you do go, so that way if you do, I will attend.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, 38, replanting trees at disc golf course by Director Young.
Awesome, finally my turn. Gosh, a lot on this. We previously, the previous board paid John Huck, Design to come and review the course, trim this tree, different things like that. We also paid for $5,500 for mulching one time, and they ended up mulching the live oaks, which typically don't appreciate being mulched. So that was the last board. What I'm attempting to do is get the disc golf course off of the mud budget as much as possible or reasonable. One of the things that, after talking with some of the disc golfers, some of the stuff, I think we've got a group of people out there willing to put in a lot of volunteer time and doing things. One of the things I talked to them about was planting now some baby walnuts, baby pecans, and a location that in 10 years would be providing shade for various parts of the course. To start off, it would be for all the tee pads, basically in the middle of summer, your 5 p.m., it's very hot out there, but at the tee spots are the best places to cool down. So what I would like to do is start working on an effort. I've got some pecans that I'm germinating in my home. I've got a walnut that's been transplanted. We can start looking into getting some scions and rooting some of those throughout the district. But what I would like to be able to do is plant these as babies. And I'm not asking for any budget. The disc golf course, the disc golf team is not either. just to have them marked so that they don't get knocked down by priority landscaping when they get out there, some sort of a notification until they're big enough. I don't believe that any of these trees are gonna need any additional watering and such. There's several black walnut out there, there's several pecan, but I would like to give them the permission to go ahead and plant trees. And also where some of the trees went down, the strategic trees that went down, we can get those back up, strategically placed and such, but I'd like to give them permission to plant trees where they see fit, mark them, and then we communicate through Lisa to priority, and then at that point, they won't knock those trees down.
Do you have it mapped out where the trees will go?
The T-pads.
Okay, and then you also said some trees that had already fallen down though. Or was that the T-pads?
Right, well, it would be, the ask would be for anywhere that the disc golfers deem it would be best, right? At the T-pads, at the relocations, and there might be some other ones as well. I don't think we need to restrain them on planting trees on what they see fit. I understand Lisa's put a lot of effort into both garden, disc golf course, a lot of things, and she, while she's an expert at getting quotes and negotiating down and understanding the problems, I think it would be best to let the disc golf community.
Any effort into those things, they've also been offered by residents.
The residents are doing all the
They're
work.
doing all the work, yeah.
Doing all the work at
I don't
what?
wanna take any of the credit for what the residents have done. The
Yeah.
community gardens and everything have been literally been taken care of by the residents that have been volunteering out there. I don't.
Okay, but what was your point,
And-
Robert?
and so I want this, I want to replicate the community garden, the way that they've got 3 people in there leading, and if somebody moves on, then we replace them, but I'd like to do that also with the disc golf course, let them kind of control their own fate until things get out of hand, but again, we're not looking for any budget on this. I just want to basically move a little bit of control over to them, and then when they've got, hey, we need this tree trimmed, or it fell over, or we need, this has been defaced, they work through Lisa, they can throw trees up.
Is there the tree survey count come on overnight, or is it just tell them it's in the
It's just,
budget?
it's everywhere.
So I can agree with what Ursula said, bring it back, GPS, or whatever, Google Map, and show us where you're thinking.
Well, I mean, I asked that really because I was just curious, how many trees, do you have a plan? Do you know how many trees you're gonna plant? Do you know?
Ultimately, it's gonna be up to the disc golf team,
Yeah, so,
and they're welcome to. So my thoughts are, if they were to touch base with Lisa.
exactly.
And as long as it's nothing like weird, like, hey, we're gonna take a bunch of invasive species and we're gonna build this wall or this barrier or something like that, or cause something out of the ordinary, I just want the disc golfers to have the same permission as the squirrels do out there to plant trees where they.
Well, we can't give them that.
Do we need a motion in a second on this?
So my one thing to throw in here is we typically, anybody doing landscape, usually it's a organized volunteer group, but we would not waive waivers
Yeah.
from anyone who's working out there. I think we've got a current one.
Yeah.
Sure, so waivers are not a problem.
So
Real
I,
quick, do you get a motion in a second, that's what I was asking.
well, did you say your motion?
I would
That's what I'm
like,
trying to make sure.
I would like to allow the disc golf team to work through GM
That's the
and to be able to plant trees as they wish.
Okay, so I think the key is that,
I'll second that, so we can discuss.
okay, so thank you. I think it's great that we're getting a volunteer group out there. I know Gideon really well, and, they care about that course a lot. I think it's imperative that they do work with the GM, so if there's an understanding of exactly what they're doing, and we know how many trees and. A plan. So that's my 2 thoughts on it. I'm gonna go around the room.
Can I amend the motion? I think, Robert, if they've got their hearts there, I want them to be involved, I would suggest this. Given that the tee boxes are definitely part of the disc golf course and probably the most like shade and stuff, I would suggest kind of limiting this at this point to working on the tee boxes, right? And then we can work as that works out, expanding to cover the rest of the area, like planting more generally, right? Because I think the idea of having us plant trees and not having a trip goes great, but basically, it's like a big scope, right? And I think having something they can get to that like they can manage, that will definitely like directly help the disc golf course first, right, so that's like working already.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great, and then as that works out, then we can talk more about planning elsewhere in the neighborhood, because honestly, like, I'll be honest, like, if this works out with the tee boxes and it turns out well, like, having the ability to potentially have neighborhood grown, organized trees planted elsewhere would be good in coordination with Trip and our GIS
Well, yeah, that's
system.
what Robert has said before, is let's get more pecans
Bingo,
around the 3 mile.
but I guess it was
Yeah.
like, the tee boxes, like, we know where those are, right?
Right.
They know what they need as far as shade, right? That shouldn't be an issue for Lisa and Trip, like, oh, it's just marked down, right? And then as that works out, we can then expand out to like,
Okay.
doing like bigger stuff, because I think there's a real opportunity here.
Yeah, on that note, ponds are notoriously difficult to nursery because they need to be very deep. Trip comes across these 30-gallon buckets that he was able to donate as opposed to recycle or throw away. So we've got those. I've got 2 community residents that are willing to volunteer to help kick this off. It should be it's a long time to get a 3-year-old tree, but it's not a lot of effort. It's sprinkling them with water, digging up some dirt, different things like that, so.
Okay, if you don't mind, I'm gonna move on. Director Roberts?
Yes.
Yeah, you have a comment?
No. I'm sorry.
Director-
I'm ready to motion to adjourn.
We're still on 38, that's why I said.
Director Johnson?
So I think we have the motion from Young, right? I don't know that we have a second.
No, you have a second.
I second it,
Yeah,
to discuss it, I was gonna offer to amend it to limit it to the tee boxes for now, so we can get this started quickly, right? And then, that way they don't have to, to minimize work Lisa has to do, but to maximize the ability to get stuff going quickly, right?
Okay, Director Johnson?
I like the idea, I like the amendment too. To kind of focus it, make sure the idea works, and then.
Okay, did you second his amendment?
I think she's second.
Second. Wait, let's go back around, because, okay, are you done?
Yes.
Director Young?
Best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Next best time is today, so whatever it takes to get us planting some
Okay,
trees.
Director Schumacher?
I have nothing else to say, so I'm.
Director Roberts?
My turn?
Yes.
Just along with Sean's on the liability.
Yes,
pieces, so-
and if they're working with Lisa, she'll reinforce that, so, okay, all in favor?
I made an amended motion, did anybody second it?
Yeah, Robert seconded.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
My apologies, I didn't catch that.
We didn't catch it, so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, miscellaneous and board subcommittee directives and future board meetings. Okay, one thing I want to touch on is subcommittees. We all know what subcommittees are for. You can't have 1, 2 directors on it because then you have a walking quorum. I want to remind everyone to please work with your subcommittee member. We're not running solo on stuff, so it's imperative, especially when you're working with volunteers and others, that you come across as a subcommittee, as opposed to just going out there and doing one thing. I think we do a pretty good job, I just think we need a reminder. Lisa, did you want to touch on any of that?
I do. I actually have had some conversations with some residents here in the district that would love to be volunteers. They also want to make sure that we are following the procedures of when a volunteer has a project that they would like to work on, that information is brought to the MUD board, and that the board collectively as a whole approves that project as opposed to one person going out and trying to create something on their own. And so I told them that I would definitely bring that back and let them know that subcommittees aren't there to actually make decisions. You all hear what we have to say, you take the information from a subcommittee, decide if that's agenda worthy, we bring it to the board. If you're on a particular subcommittee and you want to educate the other 3 board members as to why you think it's a good idea, then that's the purpose of the subcommittee, and not for a subcommittee to run solo and try and do something on their own. I am the general manager, but I am not going to take any type of project and approve it without you all deciding first how you want to see your money spent, and obviously according to the budget that you all have decided on. And so I have residents that are really wanting, like I said, to be part of the community, but they also want to be community members to a perspective of, not going out and being told that a certain project can be done without the actual approval of the board.
Right, and we can't do certain expenditures without approval of the
Exactly.
board.
Yeah, and even if it's not an expenditure, but we all need to work together. Okay, nothing else on the, any other discussion on that?
I was gonna say move to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All right.
All in
We're
favor?
done.